First song we sang today was Joy to the World, the Lord has come. We talk a lot about joy this time of year, right? 'Tis the season to be jolly and get your fa-la-la-la-la on. Okay, some of you have been getting it on since like October. You know what I'm talking about, ladies? You go down in the basement, and you've got that sacred place behind the police tape. You know, it's the Christmas ghetto. And you've got your tree and your ornaments and the 6-foot wreath that you want to hang on the door, and the wind hits it and it bangs against the door. And you've got your, animatronic Santa that you put out in the front yard, and it's like, ho, 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 and it scares the children of the neighborhood. And you love Christmas. It's like it's the most wonderful time of the year, and you get all jacked up about it. It represents nostalgia and family and friends and food and warmth and generosity, or maybe you just like to get stuff, and that's okay too, You head towards Christmas and your relatives show up and maybe they take a little wind out of your fa-la-la-la-la. And then comes January. And it's time to pack it all up and return it to its place in the basement. And it's kind of a letdown, Unless you're my mom and it stays up till March. 'Tis the season to have joy, to be jolly. And here in this series, we've been talking about what it means to abide. We've got this amazing set piece up here to talk about abiding, that the root of the vine here is Jesus, that he is the strength of it. He's the one that brings nutrition. He's the grounding of it. And then we are the branches that we branch off from him to bear fruit. And everything that we do, we're saying to abide in him means to bear this good fruit, to be rooted in him, to be nourished by him, to pray like it depends on him, to love people as he loves through us, to bear good fruit as he bears fruit that will last through us. That's what it means to abide in him. So over this whole series, we've been talking about this. You have your very first fill-in right now. To abide means to remain in, to dwell in, to be at home with. And Jesus says throughout this whole time, hey guys, I'm calling you to abide, to find your home in me, your confidence, your rootedness in me. And if you do that, something else will happen. Our key verse for today is from John 15. It says, I have told you this so that, I want you to circle those two words, so that. I've told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. I've told you these things. I'm teaching you how to abide, to be rooted into me, to let me live out these good things through you so that my joy may be in you and your joy will be complete. One of my favorite authors, Dallas Willard, he defines it like this, this joy that we have through Jesus. Joy is not pleasure, a mere sensation, but a pervasive and constant sense of well-being. Hope and the goodness of God is joy's indispensable support. I love that. So the big idea for today is this. Joy isn't found in circumstances. Joy is found in Jesus. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Have you ever had to wait for something really great? Have you ever really had to wait? I'm not talking about like that Amazon package. You're waiting to come and 2-day shipping just wasn't fast enough. Or maybe you applied to a college back in November and you got to wait like 3 months before you get that letter, and you're just waiting in anticipation with some anxiety. What is your future going to hold? Where are you going to wind up going? Gwen and I, my wife, we had to wait for something really, really good once. When we got married, I made her promise me that I would get her to myself for 2 years before we started trying to have kids. And we were already older. I was 32 when we got married. And she said, okay. We had a wonderful 2 years. And then we started trying. And what we didn't know is we were going to have a hard time getting pregnant. And at first, it's just a little bit of that, like, some people, it takes a while for them to get pregnant. But then it became clear that there was a problem after a bit. And we started seeing doctors. And started having all those conversations and having those awkward tests. And he started talking about things like infertility. And every month I'm looking at my wife in the eyes and seeing the disappointment, seeing the letdown, seeing the anxiety. And you start having all these procedures and you're getting a lot of shots and you're getting all this information coming at you. And after 5 years, we find out we're pregnant. But we had had miscarriages before, and there was a lot of anxiety attached to that pregnancy, and her pregnancy was really hard. Gwen was really, really sick. And then for about the last 8 weeks of the pregnancy, she was on full bed rest because we were afraid it was a precarious situation with the baby. And then after all that time, all that anxiety, we find out the baby is in distress. And he was born of an emergency C-section. And then you look him in the face. And I'm like, what joy. What fulfillment. What a miracle. And now he's 10 years old, and I look at him now, and I think all that anxiety and all that fear and all that inward turmoil, that yearning, is just kind of a dim memory when you have the joy of looking at him in the face right now. And now when I look at him, I have a whole new set of anxieties attached to the guy. But not those. You ever had to wait for something really good? See, Israel had a very special relationship with God. They had walked with God in a very special way. He had been very direct and intimate with them. He had delivered them from captivity. He had given them prophets, pillars of cloud and pillars of fire. He had given them anointed kings, had given them judges. And then they had enjoyed this amazing relationship with God. And then there's this 400-year period called the intertestamental period where it was silent. No more words from the prophet. Nothing was happening. And most of that time, they were in some kind of captivity. They were ruled by a foreign power. And they longed for the prophesied Messiah, the leader who was going to come, who was going to deliver them from their captivity, who was going to make everything better, who was going to put them in their rightful place. They expected this Messiah, this ruler, this king to come with a great fanfare. You see, but it came different. The Messiah didn't come with a fanfare. He came like dropping a pebble in the ocean. But instead of those waves dissipating, they grew stronger and more powerful and greater. Till 2,000 years later, you and I are talking about him today. And the course of human history is measured by what came before him and what came after him. Joy to the world, the Lord has come. So why take joy? What does it mean that the Lord has come? Okay, in the same gospel, the author John tells us this in the very first chapter. He says, in the beginning was the Word, that capital W, Word. This is Jesus he's talking about. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him, now get this, through Jesus, all things were made. Without him, without Jesus, nothing was made that has been made. In him was life. And that life was the light of all mankind. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. Now we see that, every time we see that capital W word, that's a Greek word, it's called logos. It's where we get our root word from logic from. John was writing in Greek, and it was a very Greek-influenced society that he was writing to. And when he talked about the logos, that was a very, very loaded word. See, Greek philosophers have been discussing this for a very long time. It means reason. Right? Reason, it means truth, it means logic. And not just any reason, but the reason for existence. And these Greek philosophers for a couple hundred years have been discussing this, and they had come to the conclusion at this time in history that there was no reason for existence, that things did not have any kind of meaning. And John drops a bomb on them here. He says, no, there is a reason for existence. But the reason, see, isn't found in a dogma. It's found in a person. And Jesus is the Logos. Jesus is the reason for existence. He is the embodiment of purpose. He claims to be ultimate reality. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He says, I am the truth. See, truth isn't subjective, it's objective, and the object is Jesus. He claims to be ultimate reality here. He claims to be the source of truth, the embodiment of reason, and the embodiment of joy. See, joy is not found in a set of principles. It's found in a person. And it's not just the embodiment of reason and purpose. See, Jesus is the embodiment of absolute authority, the one who has the power to create. Remember, we said in him, everything was created. Nothing that has been created was created without him. The one who has the power to create has the ultimate power. He's the embodiment of complete authority. He is the one true king. We just sang that song, King of Heaven, the one true king, the king who made it all with a purpose. So get this, joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her king. Here in the U.S., we don't really know a lot about kings. We have a system of government that like every 4 to 8 years, we get a new guy up there, and half the country mourns because their guy isn't in power, and the other half of the country is excited because their guy is in power, and then it switches around. And after a few years, you realize they're all human, they're all messed up just like you and I. And we're just going, okay, finally, we're going to get a new guy up there, because once we get my guy up there, everything's going to be okay. Once we get my guy up there, everything's going to be made right. You see, but a king rules for life. A king rules for the entirety of his life and demands complete submission from his subjects. And if the king is good, man, the people flourish. It's wonderful. And if the king is bad, the people suffer. Look at, like North Korea, they kind of have a king. You have a king who was ruled for like Kim Jong-il, and he dies, and they put his son in place, and now his son's going to rule for the rest of his life. It's kind of out of the frying pan into the fire. We see this in dictators around the world, but this is the kind of government that Jesus was talking about. And we see this theme so much in literature. Look at King Arthur and the Knights, of the Round Table of Camelot. We look at that in the Lord of the Rings. We look at that in the Chronicles of Narnia, even the Lion King. The black lion, the bad lion is in power, and everybody wants the good lion to be in power. Maybe his son will be the good lion. They put the good lion in power. It works something like that. But there's something like this that says the wrong guy is in power, and we all know it. And if the one true king, the one who deserves it, the one who is just and who is wise and who is good was in power, everything would be made right. Everything would be made whole. Tolkien says it like this: the hands of the healer are the hands of the king are the hands of a healer, and so the rightful king could ever be known. See, and if the right guy is on the throne, injustice would be undone, and the people would flourish. But until then, until the right king is where he belongs, we all know things aren't the way they were supposed to be. In our gut, we know that the rightful king is in his place. But one day, the one true king will make everything right. You see, he will bring the joy that we all long for. Jesus is the one true king, the creator, the one who made it all, the one who gives it meaning, who gives it purpose, the one who is the Logos, the one who is the reason for existence. And the one day, he will make it all right. He'll wipe every tear from every eye. There'll be no more sickness, no more pain, no more death. Even heal creation from the corruption of sin. John refers to Jesus in the book of Revelation like this. He says, on his robe and on his thigh, he has a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. The reason we talk about him and the magnificence, the majesty of the one true king, you see, we're not going to get into like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse or anything right now, okay? What we're talking about is when we understand, see, knowing the greatness of the king helps us to better know the power of his love. Knowing the greatness, the magnificence, the majesty of the king helps us to better know the true power of his love. And his power isn't just to heal nations, see, his power can heal our hearts. Joy to the world. The Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. Man, my heart can be so cluttered, crowded. Maybe you're like that. There's so much stuff coming at us all the time, so much information, so much data, so many things that get our attention. See, when something has our eyes, it has our attention long enough, it gets our affection. And when something has our affection, inevitably, it changes our direction. And sometimes it's simple things. It could be like, aren't there some things you wish you could unsee? That advertisement for that boat, Maybe it's that woman in the workplace, you wish you hadn't taken that second look. Maybe there was something you wish you could undrive. Your neighbor let you drive his brand new car, and you got in there and you drove it, and you got that, oh yeah, that new car smell, right? And then you got back in your car, and it just smells like family. See, but if something has our affection, it changes our direction. And I'm not just talking about the obvious, the big things, the bad things. We all have seen people who have been addictions that they've dealt with. We could talk about alcohol or drugs or some other kind of compulsion. We look at Wall Street and say, yeah, we don't want to be ruled by greed. That's kind of obvious. But I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about good things, about permissible things. Maybe that relationship that you're in, it might be a brand new relationship, and it's just like suddenly it's become the source of all of your happiness, all your joy, all of your identity. It could be, doing a good job at work, and you want to succeed, and you want to provide well for your family. Sometimes we take these things and maybe we prop them up, and we can take a good thing and maybe make it into a problem. Here's your next feeling. See, when we take a good thing and turn it into an ultimate thing, it becomes a tiny king. A tiny king. See, here's the deal with the tiny king. A tiny king promises so much, but delivers so little. They're always fun on the front end. They're fulfilling on the front end, but it's just it's very temporary, and then eventually fades, and that car eventually starts to smell like family, It always kind of goes downhill. A tiny king will always let you down. And what happens is we, even if you've been a Christ follower for a long time, we get bored with stuff. You know what a lazy Susan is? You know what that is? It's that thing you put at the center of the table, the condiments in, and you can spin it around to get the next thing you might want. What happens is we have this lazy Susan of tiny kings. And these things that we just kind of allow into our hearts to have our affection for a little while. Maybe it's a sports team that was winning and they're not winning anymore. Maybe it's, if you've been married more than 6 months, you suddenly realize, okay, it's time to spin that thing around again. And we have this rotating thing of tiny kings because they can never deliver the joy, the fulfillment that our hearts really long for. And what happens is our hearts get so crowded with all these good things, we sacrifice the best thing. A tiny king will always break your heart, but the one true king will always heal your heart. And here's the deal. For most of us, we are our own tiny king. We place ourselves on the throne of our lives. And that's fundamentally, that is the essence of sin. We don't use the word sin a lot, but really the essence of sin is that we take the rightful place of God in our lives. We become our own tiny king. How's that working out for you? You and I both know how messed up you are. And to put yourself as ultimate source of authority, the ultimate source of fulfillment, of joy for yourself in your own life, is that not a formula for disappointment? We become our own tiny kings. But our hearts long for the reign of the one true king. And only when we dethrone all the tiny kings will the one true king take his rightful place. He will not share the throne. He's a gentleman. And he will not force himself onto that throne. And until then, we serve this rotating doorway of masters that fail to deliver the joy of the one true king. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her king. Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing. Psalm 19 says this, the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they reveal knowledge. Scripture says that all of creation speaks to his power, to God's majesty, to his creativity, to his intelligence, to his artistry. Romans 1 says this, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen. It speaks to who he is, and nature has a voice, and that voice speaks to its own creator. It's like you see a tree bearing fruit, and it's good, and it's wonderful. You see that bird in the air, flying through the air, and you just see the freedom and the beauty of that. You see the dolphins playing on the bow of the ship. You look into the nighttime sky and you see this light and you understand that it is a sun that is burning with such unimaginable ferocity from millions and millions and millions of miles away. And here we are, we see its light twinkling in front of us in the night sky. And I tell you what, none of us believes all of that was an accident. None of us believes that there is no meaning to it. You could talk to Nietzsche. He says, hey, we came from nothing and we're going to nothing. And in between, we contemplate our nothingness. He's fun at parties. Richard Dawkins, it would say that there is nothing supernatural. There is no soul. There is no purpose to your existence. There is just cold, meaningless space that is indifferent to all of us. And any meaning you have in life, you construct for yourselves. And it really is just an illusion. It helps you get up in the morning. See, but none of us can really live like that. We all know in our hearts that you see the immensity and the beauty of the universe, that there is inherently meaning, that there's inherently purpose behind it. There's something so beautiful and joyful about seeing things that were designed to do something fulfill that purpose. And sometimes it's just, it's a natural thing. No one would, okay, say you take a watch and you look at it and you're like, we really like watches. They tell time. It's very helpful. Okay, we don't think much about it, but what if you take that watch and you go to pound a nail with it? And you're king, 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 you pound the nail. Yeah, what a lousy watch. No one says that because it wasn't designed to do that. The watch wasn't meant to pound a nail. It was meant to tell time, and when it does what it's supposed to do, it's a beautiful thing. All right, I want to wax a little eloquent with you for a second, okay? All right, so bear with me. But there's a fish swimming in a pond on a farmer's property. And the fish looks up through the water and he sees on the outside of the pond, he sees the grass growing on the shore, and it longs for that grass. It says, oh man, it must be amazing up there. I bet it must be really cool up there. I can't wait to do that. And in one complete leap to exercise his freedom, the fish leaps from the pond onto the grass, and it lays there and finds itself stuck on the grass, and it says, this is the life. Finally, I'm my own boss. Up here, I can truly swing. No one's going to tell me what to do. No. That pond's full of hypocrites. But up here, I truly rule. But after a little while, he starts to realize what he did. After a little while, the joy of the leap turns to regret. The Creator makes things with a purpose. He made you and I with a purpose. And see, creation is at best when it's fulfilling that design, when it's fulfilling that purpose. And in fulfilling that purpose, there's joy. Fulfilling what you were meant to be. And you and I were meant for a relationship with God through Jesus. That's what we were made for. And like that fish that's separated from the water, our souls will slowly suffocate when we're detached from the source. And it may take a long time. It may take years. It may take decades. And as we pile up soul scars and we pile up regrets in life, we slowly suffocate because we're separated from that source of life. And it can take years, and our eyes grow dim, and we get tired. But see what? When we finally put our trust in Him, when we finally submit ourselves to Him, we find our purpose in Him. We find the joy that only He can bring to us, see? Joy that can't be taken away from the ups and downs of life. Jesus said, your life is going to have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. A joy that says, regardless of your circumstances, it is well with my soul. And that joy can't be manufactured. No amount of decorations or songs, no amount of relationships, no drug, no paycheck, no applause is going to give you the joy that your heart longs for. What did Dallas Willard say again? See, joy is not pleasure, a mere sensation, but a pervasive and constant sense of well-being, that rootedness in Him, the well-being, this idea that God has got this, brings the joy that you and I so long for. C.S. Lewis said it like this: aim at heaven and you will get earth thrown in. Aim at earth and you will get neither. So how do we get our joy? You surrender your heart to the one true King. And here's the deal. See, the King that we serve, the King that we submit to, He's not trying to keep a good thing from you. He's trying to give a good thing to you. Here's what I know about all of us. All of us, whether you call yourself a Christ follower, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're a humanist or agnostic, whatever it is, everybody has got this sort of moral standard, this ethical standard that they bought into, that they said, okay, if I live this way, it means I'm a good person. And all of us fail to meet up to our own standards. If we're being honest, none of us fulfills that. And here's the deal. If there's an earthly king, an earthly kingdom, and you break the law, okay, you break the law, you break the relationship, you try to usurp the kingdom, what's going to happen? There's a penalty for that. There's always a penalty for something. That's why we have jails. That's why we have police. We can't just do everything that we want to do, that there is a law of the land. And a king is a good king who says, you try to usurp the authority of the king, there's a penalty to be paid. But the king that we serve, the one true king, he says this, you can never be good enough. You can never live up to it. You can never have a perfect standard. You're never going to meet your own standards, let alone my standards. So you know what I'm going to do? I, the one true king, I'm going to pay the penalty for you. I'm going to step in that place for you. I'm going to do for you what you could never do for yourself. Jesus is the one true king. See, if the essence of sin is us taking God's place, the essence of salvation is God taking our place. And the mark of being completely loved, completely accepted and justified before God is joy. And he's not trying to control you. The one true king is trying to set you free. My boys have heard me say this 100 times. And I keep telling them, I say, guys, you know what? I don't care what you wind up doing for a living. I don't care if you want to run a yogurt stand or if you want to be a lawyer. Here's what I care about, is that you follow Jesus all the days of your life. Because boys, I'm telling you, if you keep him at the center, if you keep him on the throne of your life, all that other stuff falls into place. Your relationships make sense, and your career choices make sense, and your values and your ethics, they make sense, and your priorities fall in line, and that marriage and eventually your parenting, all those things have a chance. But outside of him, separated from the vine, separated from the source of life, it's chaos. So boys, trust me, follow Jesus. Let everything else follow. Abide in him, persist in him. See, we got this amazing vine. It's like a tree trunk. There's power there. There's confidence there. There's rootedness there. And there is life that flows through it. And you and I are the branches. And we're these floppy things hanging out there, with not a lot of strength. But our strength comes from the vine. And our nutrition, our power, our life comes through it so that we can bear fruit, so that we can have joy. So those things can pour out of us because of the strength of the vine, because of the strength and the power and the redemption of the one true king. And when we walk in submission to him, when we abide in him, remain in him, allow him to work in and through us, there is joy, there is life. And when we get separated from him, what happens to that branch? It can't bear fruit anymore, not fruit that will last. Eventually the leaves get crushed up, they dry up and they fall off. That branch withers, it falls to the ground, it's trampled on the ground. But when it's connected to the source, it is strong. And there is joy, there is life. And Jesus said we would have his joy, the joy coming from the vine, and our joy would be complete. Complete abiding leads to complete joy. And partial abiding would lead to partial joy. That's why he says, in him is life, and that life was the light of men. And in him we have our true joy. If you're new with us today, I want to invite you back to Christmas Eve. And I want you to understand that wherever you're at in your relationship with God here today, that you can belong in this community as we pursue Jesus together. And here's my challenge to you. Jesus often said this. He said, come and see. Just come and see. Come follow me. Come check me out. Come with me on this journey. He didn't say, hey, you gotta sign on with all of these doctrines and all these disciplines and all this other stuff that you don't understand. He just said, come and see. And if maybe you're just exploring all this today, I want to invite you, come and see. Come and see in the context of this community. Come and see on Christmas Eve. We're going to have 10 Christmas Eve services. They're in your bulletin. And come and see who he is. What does he say about himself? And what does it mean for us to follow him? Come and see. And for everybody else, all you regular Westsiders, who needs to be a part of the vine that you know? Who can you introduce to the source of life, to the source of joy that transcends our circumstances? I want to challenge you to invite 10 people to Christmas Eve. And we can just take that first step in getting to know who he is and what it means to follow him, what it means to know him, what it means to find ourselves, our identity, and our rootedness in the one true King, in the Creator. It's a Merry Christmas. Have joy. Let's pray. So Jesus, I'm as guilty as anybody of abiding partially in you and of spinning that lazy Susan of tiny kings and crowding out the throne of my heart with all these temporary, sometimes worthless things. But as you reveal yourself to us that you are the one true King, the good King, the King who isn't coming to control us, but King who wants to set us free and to bring us joy that is complete. Lord, help us to lean into you. And in this season when we're surrounded by so much information and so much data, help us to find our rootedness in you and in you alone. And help us to be a blessing to the people around us, to be a source of life, to be a source of joy. And we come thankful, Lord, grateful before you, the privilege of gathering here in your great name. Amen. Merry Christmas, everybody.